you, Uncle Soundwave. I think Rias is back. We're still in the process of sorting out some audio issues. Claw has just given us the 1-minute warning, so let's go ahead and start off by introducing the Cry Havoc team. Cry Havoc has brought a Nighthawk, 2 Drakes, a Rook, a Scimitar, and 2 Tengus. And I'm not hearing Rias, so he may be having the same audio issues, so we'll go ahead and talk about Pod Liberation. Pod Liberation has brought 2 Abaddons, a Harbinger, a Myrmidon, a Hurricane, a Drake, and an Ishkur. So quite an assortment of battle cruisers, and 2 Abaddons and an Ishkur, and we'll be getting underway here very shortly.
I'll be honest, I'm a bit of a sucker for the Abaddon. That is just a tremendous, tremendous amount of firepower. It's probably one of my favorite tournament ships. Crowan, if you could put some battleships in there, what's your favorite in this tournament?
I'm a big fan of the Abaddon, and we'll see how they perform as we've just gotten this match underway. We've got drones in the air. Looks so far like just damage drones. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody brings E-War drones. Those do tend to play a significant role in Alliance tournaments. And we have the Ishkur already all the way out of shields. Not much else by way of damage.
No, certainly not. This is really interesting setups. We have the Drake setups on one hand, which I never really liked a great deal. Do you think Cry Havoc will take this heavy Pod Liberation Army setup?
You know, it's going to be interesting. We saw what Tengus were capable of in the last match, which is, you know, really a reasonable amount of damage. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm a little concerned about the Abaddon setup and cap stability, because they don't have, you know, they may be cap transferring between each other. I haven't been able to look close enough yet to see. But if they're not, those Abaddons are going to go dry fast. And now we see the Myrmidon for Pod Liberation and half structure, so those Abaddons are kicking out a ton of damage. And that Myrmidon has gone down. We can see now. Let's see where Pod Liberation is gonna pick for their next target. They have not taken a lot of damage thus far from the Cry Havoc team, which is a bit of a surprise. Cry Havoc is always a presence at these tournaments. Now we have one of the Drakes now is at about half shields. He's going to be nearing peak recharge pretty soon, and once he's through that, it's all over. But these Abaddons, just ton of damage coming out of them, and I don't think I see any cap transfer, so we'll see if their cap holds out.
Yeah, and as you said, a ton of damage, but right now it seems like they have very little to show for it. We have 2 Pod Liberation ships already down, and the Abaddons haven't been able to take that Drake down yet, so you might actually not be getting your full value for that. Oh, I think that Drake popped there. Oh, that was a Pod Liberation Drake. That is not good to be losing. Let's talk about the breaking point for Pod Liberation Army. How many ships can they lose before this gets really difficult to get back into?
I think they can lose everything, but well, the Tengus I think are going to be their or sorry, I'm looking at the wrong side. The Abaddons are going to be their linchpin. Those have so many effective hit points and so much damage that as long as those Abaddons are alive, as well as something else that can web down the smaller ships, they'll be fine as far as damage output goes. As we're seeing one of the Cry Havoc Drakes now in some shield trouble. He is getting repped, but he is taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, and as you said, as long as the Abaddons are on the field, they can still get back, and I think that is absolutely a prediction that is going to come true. They are back down to 2 Abaddons and 1 Harbinger on the Pod Liberation Authority side. So Cry Havoc simply picking off the other ships on the team one by one, and they are now well ahead with 2 Drakes, a Tengu, a Scimitar, a Nighthawk, a Rook, and the Drakes. So they're in a pretty good spot right now, and unless we see Pod Liberation Authority start actually taking some of those ships down, it's going to start looking very, very bleak for them.
Yeah, and we did just see that Harbinger go down. What's a little bit surprising to me is, despite the presence of a Rook on the field, the Abaddons both seem to be firing. Of course, now that I say that, I'm seeing one of the Abaddons not firing at all, but there may be some ECCM involved there to anticipate the rooks that we've seen. Again, I think every single match we've seen some rooks take the field.
And I mean, it just underlines how important electronic warfare is. I mean, we used to see it in the other tournaments, usually in the form of frigates or cruisers, and now we see the Rook as a bit of an integral part of a setup. Can you build a setup without EW that's effective?
I think you can't. Well, without a dedicated EW ship, I think it is possible, but it's going to require a bit of creativity. That first Abaddon now into about 25% armor. This is just a waiting game at this point. Those Abaddons appear to be passively tanked, which they would really have to be, especially without a Guardian there to give them capacitor. I think you can do it without dedicated E-War, but it would involve some means to compensate, specifically E-War drones, I think. And that first Abaddon is down, so we're looking at pod liberation. Looks like the lone Abaddon standing there, and he's about to take a lot of missile fire.
Yeah, he certainly is, and we are down to the last Abaddon, as you said. Missiles flying from pretty much the entire Cry Havoc team towards that ship, and we are pretty much down to just the waiting game. How many hit points does this Abaddon have to chew through? So I think it will be fair to declare Cry Havoc the winner here. Do you see any chance of recovery here, Crowan?
Absolutely none. Cry Havoc came with a very solid setup. As much as I am not a fan of Drakes in the tournament, this was effective with the combination of the Scimitar and the Tengus and the other things as well. There were and the Nighthawk, so many shield hit points out there that it's going to be a lot of tank to break for anyone really. So, and I think that was demonstrated because you have two very high DPS battleships weren't able to heal through that, weren't able to damage through that Scimitar's repair. Second Abaddon now just about to enter structure, and the waiting game is almost over for this match.
And looking back, it ended up being quite one-sided, Cry Havoc being pretty well in control of this match from the beginning. We of course have an entire day worth of matches. You can stay here until at least 9 Eve time. After that, we'll have dev roundtables talking about what we saw today. You can of course listen in game in the Alliance Tournament channel. You can listen to Split Infinity Radio, Eve Radio, and New Eden Radio. They will be covering all of it the entire day.